Today, we have a special guest, someone who is confused about the presence of 2D women, someone who is so baffled on why would men choose drawn fictional women as their girlfriends. Lady, this is a question that only the most mature of the most mature individuals can answer to you. Today I learned men want imaginary two-dimensional women made entirely of ink with no noses. A lesson well learned, don't you think? A philosophical question that has been answered by mankind for years, the same way 1 + 1 = 2 is an old age question that has been answered by mankind for years. The inherent perfection of 2D women is a concept that can only be understood by humans who have one slight inch of imagination. But since you, my lady, are someone who is lacking in both imaginative capabilities and humor comprehension, we are going to explore the magic of 2D women for the noobs, and why they are better than real-life girlfriends, and why all of these statements are factual.
Imagination.
First off, you mentioned of how two-dimensional women are made entirely of ink with no noses. You see, that's the best part of it. The canvas is a medium of pure creativity, and the canvas allows for a wider range of variety of what or how you want your 2D women to be. You can design them to be the most beautiful of creatures, even mixing it with a few other non-human varieties, and thus creating the idealized perfect women. On the other hand, you have the real-life 3D women who are unfortunately bound by the restrictions of the real world. In general, people are born with their looks, and you cannot exactly do a character creation of some sort and modify your looks into whatever you want it. Plastic surgery is still a very expensive feat to commit, and makeup is about as genuine of art as actual drawings. So every time your makeup needs to be the best of all time, every time, which is impossible and takes a lot of your actual life. 2D women does not suffer from these restrictions. They are perfect in every single time of their life. Most people in general want 2D women to be pretty, others don't, bizarrely, but to each their own. And they can want 2D women to be pretty by simply making them to be pretty, and they will be pretty at all times. Our capabilities of imagination has made us to create the most beautiful 2D women, and it is this eternal beauty that made beautiful, timeless classics like Mona Lisa to be the beautiful 2D women that she already is. Yes, Mona Lisa is a 2D woman made by the horrendous weeb that is Leonardo da Vinci.
What? Me? Consorting? Preposterous.
Imagination.
But to think that this phenomenon only occurs in boys is a ridiculous presumption. All human beings, including women, have imaginations of their own, fantasies of their own, and their idealized version of what men should be. The younger ones want vampires or werewolves or boys from boy bands or even just hot men in general. It's true that women's idealized version of boys are usually concerning real boys. There are women who admire 2D men just as there are men who admire 2D women. But despite more and more of women's admirations towards 3D men, their admirations are still limited to the fantasies of their own, especially when their own version of idealized men is characters from fantasy land. Now, the one thing that personally bothers me when I got involved in such discussions of 2D and 3D humans are the matters of expectations. The people who are usually in the side that 2D women are not real and therefore you should go to 3D women are arguing in favor that, hey, loving and fantasizing real-life people are at least 1 degree more realistic than loving pictures of fictional characters. They are, however, forgetting the one thing that makes the two fantasy to be almost equal in some ways. They are both fantasies. No matter how much you admire the fantasies of having fictional characters or celebrities as your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're not exactly gonna have them in real life unless you try hard enough, but even so, that's still a very high goal, almost impossible if you're trying to reach it, even if what you're admiring is a real person. You can admire either Draco Malfoy or Tom Felton all you want, but he's not exactly gonna be your boyfriend anytime soon. No matter what kinds of fantasies that you have, whether it's real men or real women or 2D men or 2D women, we all end up recognizing that in the end, they're all fantasies, and those that prefer the 2D versions have tendency to be more imaginative with their fantasies rather than those that want just the real thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with both fantasies, but to think that they're both life goals that you're about to strive for is a little bit of a ridiculous assumption. I can say that I want to be a space marine thanks to no, there we go. But to think that this is something that I genuinely want to work hard to, something that I want to accomplish in the real world, is frankly ridiculous. I wish that this could be a real thing, but, well, it's not. Reality sucks. Which brings me to the question, why in the name of God would you think that what people want is the same thing as what people pursue?
Imagination.
There's a distinction between wanting and pursuing. We want to have 2D women. That doesn't mean that one of our pursuits on life goals is to literally have 2D women as our real life wife. It is an impossibility. It is a fantasy. It is a fantasy that we all love to discuss. We all love to admire. We all love to call each other's idealized version of love as absolute trash. But if I may ask you, lady, do you seriously believe that people are in the pursuit of having their waifus as their real life wife? Lady, it's something that people want. The things that people want, the idealized version of the things that they want, are obviously going to be objectively better than the real thing that they actually got. But it's not something that people are actively pursuing. At least for the most part, especially when they already have a wife. I mean, is there a possibility that people can say, oh, I think 2D women are just better when they're already married or have a girlfriend? I know it would suck, but there are women that admire hot men, even though they already have a husband in their life or a boyfriend. There's absolutely nothing wrong with fantasies of either. If you have a girlfriend who chastises you for admiring 2D women while at the same time getting wet every single time she sees Benedict Cumberbatch, my advice is to run for your life. She's a fucking hypocrite. I myself absolutely love 2D women. I get exposed to them almost every day. The beautiful arts and the cute faces are what invite me more and more into the entire thing. However, my personal admiration towards these 2D women and my personal opinion that they are better than 3D women do not necessarily mean that I don't want the real thing. Yes, I recognize that the real thing can be an absolute ass. Yes, they can be a huge problem. Human beings are human beings after all, and love is a very complicated subject that is very hard to understand. I have a real life myself to pursue. I want to have my idealized waifu to be my wife, but I recognize that it is an impossibility. It is a fantasy of mine. I will still continue to admire my 2D waifus, but I'm not entirely living in Fantasyland. I still have life of my own that I want to make better, or probably worse, with someone on my side. The love of my life that I probably would or probably wouldn't get. But for now, I'd like to fantasize, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, since we have addressed your incapabilities of imagination, let's address your incapabilities of having fun.
Imagination.
So when I see this tweet, my first thought was, yes, that's what men wants. What, are we not allowed to fantasize on things? Are we not allowed to have our own idealized version of what a perfect human being or a perfect woman would be? Is your opinion that an idealized version of human beings should be and only be concerning the real thing and not a more imaginative and in a lot of ways better than the real thing? The next tweet is probably one of the best things that I have ever seen in a while. She made a Twitter poll, and this Twitter poll consists of 3 possible answers: 2D anime schoolgirls, actual living women, and here to judge you all. Guess which one got the biggest? That's right, 2D anime schoolgirls. 1,830 votes, and men prefer 2D anime schoolgirls. This answer comes into a shock to our special guest for today. This baffling realization makes her to ponder. 28%, now 49%, of respondents so far have selected imaginary cartoon teen girlfriends in a possible answer to the "why don't women like me" conundrum. So by your logic, girls who love hot boys and actors are also a possible answer to the "why don't men like me" conundrum. Well, thanks for the confirmation then. This has been a dark education. Pointing to a couple of users on 4chan, one of the comments is the best thing that I have ever read in my entire life. Real women that are as pure as magnificent as 2D don't exist. It's pretty much a fact. Citation, experience. Well, he's not wrong. There's not one real-life woman that can match up to the perfection of an idealized image of what women should be. Obviously. Is there a female equivalent? I know some women obsess over fictional men, but actively choosing them over real men as boyfriends? Yes. Yes. Hate to break this to you, lady, but women are not as pure of a soul as you might think. They also do things that are about as disgusting as men. They fantasize and jerk off to men. Have you seen articles of people jerking off to men? I have tons and tons and tons of them. Women are also human beings, and therefore they also have imaginations. Some are more disgusting than others. Some of them also have their desires on making their idealized version of men to become reality. Fujoshi is a real thing, lady. There are women out there that actually wants fictional men to be their boyfriends or husbands, as one user pointed out to you. The same way there are men out there that actually wants fictional women to be their girlfriends or waifus. Wife. Username Martian Monk replied with a meme, but she answered, unironically, "Your girlfriend is a drawing?" That's your interpretation. This meme is clearly meant to be ironic, but you actually interpret it as what they actually mean. Do you interpret everything that people say as what they're actually saying? I mean, come on, lady. Where's your sense of humor? Where's your imagination? Where's your sense of fun? It seems like every single thing that you got exposed to in your life somehow just remove joy and charm and fun. I mean, your lack of imaginative and comedic capabilities are seriously disturbing. That meme clearly highlights why 2D women are better, not necessarily saying that I want 2D women as their wife. Also, this meme never gets old. This brings me to a rather interesting discussion that she has with a Twitter user that is, in a lot of respects, a lot more serious than our 2D women discussion.
Imagination.
I prefer 2D women over 3D ones. I have no problems with having an honest discussion with you if you care. Maybe we could both learn something. Sure, why the preference for imaginary girls? I personally would reply, because what you want is always better than what you actually get, but the Twitter user responded with something else. Many men who prefer 2D are okay with 3D females with traditional values, though, and believe that feminism killed the essence of women. Well, there's a point in that. I don't think that all women should be all to be traditionally feminine and helpful and caring. If women can progress beyond those boundaries and be about as productive and capable of hard work more so than men, like my mom, for example, they are allowed to do so. It's their own personal choice. There are women who are comfortable to be traditional mothers who take care of children. There are women who are more comfortable with working hard. In current year, there's almost nothing that binds people into traditional stereotypical gender roles. With more and more personal freedom and agency being given to both couples, they can choose their destiny and roles into the family into whatever they want it to be. And that personal freedom is the beauty of living in this world. We can be whatever we want to be so long as we strive for it and actually work hard for it. Women can be beyond just your typical housewives. Men can also be your house husbands. I'm not really sure how to phrase that. My family's roles are a lot more dynamic in essence, but it's absolutely no surprise that my mom does the family care job a hell of a lot better than my dad. She's a lot more emotional, she's a lot more compassionate, and my dad is, well, he's very sarcastic, very laid back, and he's not very, not exactly the best guy who does the caring stuff. He is lovely, he is amazing, but, well, it's just that mom does a lot of things better. But if there's one thing that I can agree on, is that feminism does kill the essence of women. And I'll explain to you once she asks this question. And what do you believe to be the essence of women? I would answer personal choice and freedom. Feminism's idea of an ideal women is the ones that are definitely not a part of the traditional gender roles, because traditional gender roles is sexist and contributes to the evil patriarchal society. So it is sexist and not progressive when you're a housewife. If you're a housewife and you love being one, then you have some form of an internalized misogyny, some form of a Stockholm syndrome to the patriarchs. What feminism does is basically guilting women for wanting to be in that stereotypical traditional gender roles. I personally think that if women chose to be in that gender role, that's perfectly fine by me. If they chose to be more than that, that's also perfectly fine by me. But to think that the other option is somehow sexist and immoral than the other is the one reason why people are not a fan of feminism or feminists in general. I believe that women should not do what men can do, but that they should do what men cannot do, such as housework and taking care of the kids. As in a more traditional gender role. Her reply is typical that to a feminist. Men can do all of those things and regularly do. We have moved on. They can, but they're much more fitted to work and bringing food to the table. Not at all. We're not hunters and gatherers anymore. So our Twitter user for today say that women has moved on from the stereotypical gender roles. Yes, moving on from that gender role does not mean it's not okay to stay in it, especially when that particular gender role is actually productive for the family. I hate that this pursuit of becoming more and more progressive is now at the expense of women's personal choice. Let them be whatever they want to be. And to end the question by saying men are not fit to work and bring food to the table, are you on the mindset that men should be and only be housewives, house husbands, and that they cannot be the ones bringing food into the table? I personally think that personal freedom is paramount to the progress of society, and you are right, more and more non-traditional family roles are more prevalent in this new millennium. It's just that forcing the non-traditional roles to be something that all men and women do is an insane demand to have, especially when it's in the expense of people's personal freedom. I hate that this desire of being more and more progressive is at the expense of personal freedom, and feminism is just about destroying personal freedom. Okay, how can we have a discussion about waifus and then suddenly turn on to feminism? Well, in the end, I think 3D women deserve their own personal lifestyle choice and freedom. I think you should all stop caring about the agency of 2D women, or lack thereof, and feminists who decide that personal choice and freedom is apparently a bad thing should reevaluate on why they're calling themselves a feminist. And now we're just gonna end this video with a couple of dumbass comments. They are not real. Yes, the same way wanting vampires to be your boyfriend and a fictional character is not gonna happen anytime soon. Jesus, apparently men want other men to reassure them they're not pedophiles. Oh, BBC! Is that you? Anyway, this video is brought to you by Supreme Harem King for the pledge on Patreon. You are amazing. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead, click like button, and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.